All right. Well, Tanner, what do you think about old age?
I think it's a self-imposed limitation that's not actually real. It's just us choosing to deteriorate by a certain percentage every day. That's my thoughts on old age. I don't think it's real. I think it's just a human choosing self-annihilation by not pushing against resistance. And I know this is probably going to piss some people off, but I think you get old when you stop fucking trying. And you may say, no, I'm still trying. I'm still, like pushing it. But it's like, are you really pushing it? Are you really? Because, like, when you're a kid, when we look at, I've talked about this too many times before, way too many times before. When you look at a kid, you are providing nutrients, education, information, like you are trying to help this kid grow. You are new concepts the kid's never heard of, new ideas the kids never heard of, new skills the kids never even like witnessed. There's new things and new input, and this kid is growing. He's growing up. And you try to provide the best nutrients for a kid. Oh, he needs more protein. We got to make sure we give him enough protein. We've got to give him enough nutrients. He's got to have enough water. We got to make sure he's hydrated. This is what we do to kids. Is we make sure they're hydrated. We make sure we give them good food. And they're human garbage disposals. They'll tear through anything, right? And then they go outside and you let them just fucking sprint. You let them just go. And we look at elderly people and they're drinking like 6 cups of coffee a day, no water, chain smoking. Some of them just I'm relating this to somebody I watched deteriorate in real time till their death. And it was horrible. The dude was an old man, had heart problems, wasn't drinking any water. The only two things he drank throughout the day was coffee and soda. He chain smoked his cigarettes, and he would have one bowl of Cheerios in the day or a grilled cheese. And that was all he ate. And I watched him deteriorate every single day until his death. And I constantly tried to like help him out a little bit. I'm like, hey, have you drank any water today? And he was like, I don't know. I'm like, oh, let's try to get you some water or something. And I'll try to get him some water, and he'd drink a little bit of it, and he'd go back to his coffee or soda until he finally expired and died. And later in life, I thought about this, and I was like, this guy was just expediting his death process. And he sat on the couch all day and watched the news and, drank his coffee, drank his soda. He had a bowl of candy in between him and his wife. Great people. They were amazing people, but they were both just dying at a exponential rate. He had major heart problems. He had 3 heart surgeries. And you can say, like, oh, he was older. And one of the things that pisses me off that I try to, like, when it comes to my own father, is I like to challenge him. I don't like when he's stagnant in any way. If he's not running, because he was a marathon runner, he was also a marathon cyclist. And it's something he's always done. And so when I feel that he's getting stagnant or he's complaining about the world or something, or if I sense at any point in time, which he's always been incredibly active, but I can always tell when he's pulling back on his like activity. And I'm like, hey, like 2 years, I think it was a year and a half ago, I could tell he was pulling back on his like, activity. And I was like, when's the last time you ran a marathon? And I know his response at the time was like, oh, like it's been a while, but it's been something I've been thinking about. And I'm like, you need to do one. I personally don't do marathons, but I do a lot of other physical activity. But that's his choice of activities. He does marathons, cycling, stuff like that. I was like, you need to keep moving. And he's like, well, with my age and whatnot. And I was like, no, bullshit. Don't give me the age excuse. I don't like it. I don't think it's real. I'm like, you are one of the most incredibly active people in the world. And I was like, your father still cycles and runs to this day. And I guarantee he's doing it more than you. And he's like, you're right. I need to get back to it. And he's like, I'm signing up for a marathon and I'm just going to do another one. And I don't believe in this old age thing. I think people subscribe to it when they think they deserve to relax. And I think that's dangerous. I think when you get to because that's a huge thing we like to do to elderly people we perceive to be older, is when we hear the age, when we hear 45, 40, or we perceive it to be older, we go, oh, you deserve to relax. You deserve to retire. You deserve to relax. And nature consumes the weak. It will always consume the weak. So when I hear this whole like, they deserve to, no, fuck that. Push them out of their comfort zone. Get them running, get them active, and they will feel young again. you can take a grandfather, put it who's played soccer for most of his life and he's relaxing, and you put his grandchildren in front of him with a soccer ball, that man will come alive. That man will spark up like nobody's ever seen. And you'll see some moves and some stuff come out of that grandfather that you're like, what the hell? I didn't even knew that dude had it in him. And I think old age isn't real. I personally just don't believe in it. I don't subscribe to it. And I know it's controversial, but I do believe that your body will kill you, will annihilate you if you don't challenge it, if you don't provide the proper stressors and nutrients to help it grow. If you just provide stressors, then the cells will deteriorate and your body will expire, your organs will start shutting down and it will give out, and your body will return to the earth to be given as nutrients for whatever comes next. So I do believe that's real, but I believe it's a choice. That's my belief on old age. I've got a lot about it, but I won't get into it yet. What do you think about old age? Do you subscribe to people becoming elderly?
I like to think of it as working out. I mean, and I'll compare it to my experience with weight training. I've done weight training for like years and years and years. But here's a problem I ran into is I was going through the motions, as I believe most people do. So I'd go to the gym and I just toss around a weight, right? And I set that weight down. But it was lacking one thing and one key word, intensity. And I think that applies in any concept in life, including age, is you have to give it intensity. It's like I was going into the battlefield with a sword and I was just,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't in it to win it. I wasn't in the game fighting with all my might. And that's how you win the battle, right? I'm not going to win a battle if I just, I'm just there to do it. And so I think the same thing applies to aging. I think a lot of people will come of age to where they start using it as an excuse. Oh, I can't lift like you young guys because I'm old. Oh, my knees hurt, my back hurts. I'm old. And I think it's just an excuse. I mean, you've had more time to prepare to get your body in adept shape to prevent these things from happening. I think it's the same thing as getting overweight. It's just an accumulation of all these little things in life that lead to an ultimate consequence. And if you don't choose your consequence, it will be chosen for you. If you don't engage with intensity in an area, then that life will give you the worst of that area. Like, if I don't choose to have a healthy body, I'm not going to have a healthy body. I got to choose that long-term goal and make these steps required to get there. If not, life's going to give me an unhealthy body. If I want to choose to have good joints, good bone health, a good back in my old age, then I have to do things that's required of me. I have to fight with intensity. I have to do the exercise, do the nutrition. And only by doing those things am I going to get to that goal. And so that's kind of what I think. Your body wants to deteriorate. I think it wants to kind of just go in the motions. Heck, our brains have a subconscious. They want to do the minimum possible. They don't want to think. They just want to. That's its job. Its job is sustainability. But the funny thing is it's really not, because it will deteriorate if you let it. And so we can't let it. We have to fight back. If I just kept going through the motions with the working out, like, I wouldn't have got to where I am right now. I probably would have fell backwards to where I stopped working out because I was just in the motions. As in, if you just sit in the passenger seat of a car, it'll take you where it takes you, and it's probably not going to be where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I think.
Something I like to keep in mind is we know people that are our age that look old and act like elderly, that complain about like their joints, that don't do the mobility. They don't pursue mobility. They don't pursue their health. So they have incredible back pain. They've got incredible like leg and hip pain. Like, you look at them and they look old. They look older. And I've had a time in my life when I think I was 21 or 20. Yeah, I was 21. Maybe I was 22. I got fat, right? I remember I was married and I was drinking every day for like 6 or 7 months. I was drinking like a gallon of rum and coke every week. Throughout the week, I remember I was going through a gallon of rum, and I put on like 30 pounds of fat, dude. My back was killing me. My knees, my joints, everything was killing me. And I felt old, dude. I felt like I was getting there. I was like, wow, like this is what it feels like. And I thought like I had crossed that prime age. I was like, man, like this is what it's like. This is what it's like to get older. And I wasn't working out a lot. I maybe went to the gym once a week or once every other week. And I was experiencing like out of breath walking upstairs. I was experiencing the knees hurting all of the time, the back hurting climbing out of bed, the like getting tired around like 5 p.m., I'm exhausted, having that drink and watching TV and giving up on the day, right? And looking back on that version of me, I'm 28 now, and I could annihilate 10 of those. If I was up against 10 of those versions of me in a room, I could annihilate every single one of them easily. And I know that. And I feel better, younger, more alive, and more rejuvenated than I've probably ever felt. I can still run 4 to 6 miles comfortably. And I do often. I still run all of the time. And it's something that I think about is like, I chose at some point in time, I was choosing to get old. I was choosing to expire. I was choosing that, like, the unhealthy habits of just destroying my body and throwing it away. And then there are people that do that from age 21 on, and they're dead at 50, like dead at 60. And most of them lose their ability to walk around that time. And that's one of the ideas that we do subscribe to is if you don't use it, expect to lose it. And that's why I'm very hard on like my friends for running and everybody near me. I'm like, you got to start running. You got to start running. You need to run. You need to run. Because if you don't, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose your ability to run. And like I've gotten to that point where I was drinking, I wasn't running, and I couldn't run a mile, dude. I couldn't run a mile to save my life. I was just like heavy drinking every day. I couldn't run a quarter mile until I was completely out of breath. And that was 7 years ago. And I can do it with ease, dude. A mile now, no problem. Like no problem. And it's like what I didn't get older. In a way, I got younger. And I can continue moving that direction as long as I choose my health over comfort. And I think that's one of the most important things is we subscribe to this whole like, oh, you deserve to relax, you deserve comfort, you deserve it easy. And it's like, okay, then you deserve to die. Like, sorry, but you are going to expire if you continually choose comfort and pleasure. It is one of the fastest routes to self-annihilation. Like, I would argue that it is the fastest route to self-annihilation. I don't know. What do you think?
I just thought of this, but I think the only difference between young age and old age is the old age, you're starting to receive some of the consequences from prior life actions. And so that could go in one of two ways. That you could start to receive the consequences of a lot of bad actions, bad accumulations, bad habits throughout your life, or you're going to receive the consequences of good actions throughout your life. And I think that's where a lot of the excuses and everything comes from is the accumulation of all the little things you've done throughout your life. And so it's not old age to blame, it's your previous actions. So I thought that was kind of interesting is the younger age people, they're not receiving consequences because they haven't yet taken the actions. So sure, they're going to have decent health, they're going to have decent agility and strength and such. But the people in the older age could have that as well. It depends on what they did earlier in their life. And so that all comes down to the consequences. As the old age, you're gonna start to receive some of those consequences of the actions prior in your life. And if you didn't take the choice, if you didn't make those choices earlier on to have a good outcome later on in life, then you're going to have the bad outcomes. And so I think that's where a lot of the old age stuff comes from, is the hurting back, the hurting knees, the hurting joints, the lack of strength, lack of agility, lack of endurance. All those things could have been chosen earlier on in life, if you chose them. If you chose them in the long term. And so I think that's where it becomes vital to look at yourself now. I mean, regardless of your age right now, I think you could still choose it. You could still start taking those steps and those actions in that direction, if you choose so now. And I think it's important to. I mean, I think it's really, you got to think about these things. Where do I want to be? If you don't think about them, then you're going to be thrown wherever the world takes you, and it's not going to be good. It's not going to be fun, and you're going to be blaming it on someone else. I think it's very common, and even me personally, to play a victim of something, right? I could blame my upbringing. I could blame where I live, me being a white man. I don't know what I want to do. I could blame it on anything I want. But I think your life only starts heading in a good direction when you take accountability of everything, regardless of your outside circumstances. If you start taking accountability, it's like, I am responsible for everything in my life. Because there is one thing you're 100% responsible for, and it's your mind. You have 100% control over it. No one could take that from you. Your mind is yours and yours alone. And so that's where it has to start. Saying, where can I take control of my life, and then take it in that direction. So, yeah.
That's one thing that one of the best lessons you pointed out in life is essentially emphatic accountability. Is just saying it's my fault. Whatever negative experience you are going through, instead of trying to point it outward, trying to pinpoint it outward, how can you take control of any negative experience whatsoever, is instead of pointing outward, you point inside. And you go, it's my fault. How do I fix it? Not, it's their fault. They need to fix it. It's my fault. How do I fix it? If you're going through anything negative, just self-accountability. It's my fault. I don't care what it is, how bad it is, how horribly horrendous it could possibly be. The best thing you can do is go, it's my fault. How should I fix this? Because it's entirely in your hands. I mean, at the time that I was drinking nonstop at 21 years old, I could pin it on anybody, anything. I remember the time I was like, oh, I work for a call center, and it's just a lot easier to just relax. And I sit in a chair all day. What was I doing? I wasn't taking accountability at all. There were guys at that call center that were shredded to the bone, that looked great, that were curling at their desk. They had one of those, because all of our desks could raise, right? At the call center. You could stand or you could sit. And they made sure that every desk was ergonomically usable, so you could stand or sit, and it was entirely your choice. I chose to sit. Okay? And directly across the cubicle from me at the time was a guy, insane shape, like great physical shape, and he was always standing, and he had resistance bands and dumbbells at his desk, and he was always using them all the time. And I was just gaining weight. And at the time I was like, I work for a call center, so it's just harder. I eat Indian food every day, and I'm just eating a lot of rice. And I was pointing outwardly. I was like, oh, it's this fault, that fault. I wasn't taking any accountability. And something that you pointed out, which was really important, is that at any point in time, you can take accountability and change it. If I stayed on the route, I would have deteriorated, and I would be at a completely different place than I am now. But I took accountability, and I was like, okay, I have to do something about this. And I turned the tables, okay? And I would say, because at the time I was like, oh, I'm at my peak, I'm at my prime age, and I'm going downhill from here. And I could have accepted that reality. And my prime would have been high school, and I would be those dudes talking about the glory days of high school for the rest of my life, dude. That would have been so sad. But now I look at myself and I'm like, I haven't even scratched the surface of my prime. And that excites me. Like, that gets me going. is like, I've barely scratched the surface of it. And that's something that, like, and there's so many people out there, 20, 30, 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, you haven't even scratched the surface of your prime. Like, you maybe had some prime days, but ahead of you, there can be days that are even better than that. And trust me, you've seen it. There are people that you see throughout your neighborhoods that are 70, 80 years old, and you see them running in the morning. Like, you see them cruising through the street every morning. And if you were to talk to them, a lot of them, you'd find like, oh, I'm doing my 8 mile run, or I'm doing my 5 mile run. And you're like, how often do you do this? And they're like, every day. And you're like, how old are you? They're like, I'm 75 years old. I'm 78 years old. And you're like, what the fuck? And like, we can make all of these excuses. Yes, they had to work up to it, but they're moving in the direction of their prime again. They're moving in the direction of their health. And at any age, you can turn the tables and be like, you know what? I want to bear witness as to the strength that this body can express. I want to see how great and how healthy this body can become. And it reminds me of the Bible story of the three men. I'm going to butcher it, but the talents that they were given. There was the man that was given 3 talents, the guy that was given 2 talents, and then I think there were sons, and the son that was given 1 talent. And the one that was given 3 talents, he went and multiplied them. And I don't know if it was like 9 talents or 6 talents, but he multiplied his 3 talents. And he came back and he was like, oh, I took the talents you gave me and I multiplied them, and he was blessed tremendously. And then the son or whatever that was given 2 talents, he also multiplied his talents. And he was blessed tremendously because of it. And he experienced a good life. But the man who was given 1 talent, he didn't want to lose it. So he hid it in the earth and he did nothing with it. And it was a shame on his life and his lineage and his existence, essentially. And it doesn't matter if you were given 3, 2, or 1. It doesn't matter where you're at. But if you multiply it, if you take what you've got, your ability, whatever it is, and you just work to multiply it, you will feel the blessings of it. You will feel great. You will experience, like, you can experience prime age again, or even better, like a lot better. I thought I had hit my prime in high school and I was over after that. When I started drinking, I was like, it's downhill from here. And now I'm 28 and I'm like, oh, dude, we haven't even scratched the surface. Like, we're climbing up there. Like, we're climbing. And I do believe you and I both, 35, we're going to be disgustingly shredded. We're going to be insanely healthy. Number 1, because we've always chosen our health. Number 2, we don't fuck around with PEDs. We don't mess around with any of that stuff. So we're not pulling life energy from later in our life to throw it on now. We're just building on the life energy we have now. And so I do believe it's just a constant uphill, so long as we continually choose resistance and fighting against our weaknesses and extracting them, finding them, attacking them, and pushing an insane amount of intensity against ourselves to grow beyond them. Because if we don't, we're going to end up like I was at 21.
I think a lot of people don't realize the unlimited potential that each and every one of us have. I mean, even thinking like I could compare myself to like what you were saying is, I hit my 20s. I got a job and I could very well just sit back in the job, comfort, retire in that job. And it could have very well been an easy downhill in comfort for the rest of my life. And that idea even crossed my mind. It's hard for it not to. But I decided to keep fighting, and like not only in my job, but in my health, in my fitness, I tackling those. Those are areas that I love. And so I think everyone needs to decide like what do I love? And just go at it. Add some intensity. Fight the fight in that area. And I could happily say in the last just year alone, like I could say like my life has been like this. In this last year alone, it's went like this. And it's been so incredibly awesome to see, because and it's just like every day it just keeps on like rising like this. And in terms of just my intellect in these areas and my experience in these areas, it's so amazing to actually just fight and add intensity in these areas, and you could see amazing growth and amazing results. I think people don't realize how much potential you have, regardless of your age. If you're here and you're alive on this earth, you have amazing potential. if you put some effort into certain areas. And I like to think of there's on social media, there's some people that go pretty viral, and it's kind of amazes me. But just for one example, there's this guy and he had this disease. I don't know what disease it was, but he had scabs. His arms were like that around. They were really really thin. Um, I didn't even see any muscle. It looked just like bones. But he was all wrapped up and he was doing a workout. He was doing a workout, and I don't know what the caption said. It's something like, "Yeah, guys, I'm gonna get big," and it just blows up. And it's interesting to think about. It's like, why does it blow up? Why am I interested in it? It's because a guy went against the odds and he found potential where most people would not have. And I think there's several examples out there. I mean, you even see like obese, overweight people say, "Hey guys, I'm gonna lose this weight," and they go viral, and everyone's like, "Yeah, well, yeah," because I think we see in them what we want in ourselves. We want to fight against the odds and find potential in areas where maybe we didn't think we could do it. But I think you have potential in everywhere area. Like, I hate the idea that, oh, you can't do it. Like, in terms of like me producing music, I like to produce music in my free time. It's like, you'll never get there. It's just a fun hobby for you. It's like, I believe if I put enough into it, I could absolutely get to where I want to get to. It just comes down to, am I willing to put that into it? Do I value it enough to add that much intensity? And I've seen that 100% in terms of my health and fitness. Just adding the value to that and purpose into that and intensity into that. And I have seen amazing results. I believe anyone at any age, as long as you're alive here on the earth, you decide what you love. You decide what you value, what you want to improve in. And if you dive into that and fight a battle, like, you will see crazy things regardless of your circumstances. And don't play a victim, just take accountability. And I think you could go crazy places.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that choosing your discomfort has removed discomfort from other areas of your life? By opting for the discomfort you want to choose and applying an excruciating amount of intensity to that area, has it removed discomfort or pains from other areas of your life that you would have probably experienced otherwise if you didn't?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's one of the coolest things about it. Would you say it's made other areas like financials, just your health, is just made it a lot more enjoyable or easier because you've chosen your difficulty and where you want to exude your pain? Has it made those other areas flourish?
Yeah, I think everything complements each other. I think I told you about this. I messaged you about a little bit. It's just been an idea that's been on my mind. It's like, for example, let's look at the gym, and let's say forearms are a good example, or abs. There are a lot of guys who neglect those. I don't need to work those out. I don't need to work those out. When really, in my experience, working out and isolating my forearms has not only helped my forearms get bigger and, stronger and better, but they help my curl. And then that helps my bench. And then that helps everything. It's like a turnaround all around thing. And in terms of maybe exercise, a lot of people neglect their cardio. When really, I was doing, the more cardio I do, the better cardiovascular I have, the longer and more intense I could do in my workouts. And it's just like the wheels keep turning. And so I think it's the same thing in life. Is now I'm applying it into my health and fitness and going intense, and I'm learning to deal with discomfort and all these things. And several aspects that goes in every area of my life. So now I know how to deal with discomfort, so I could go in discomfort in other areas. Also, my health and fitness is good, so I have the endurance and strength and capability of doing in other areas. And so you could see how in any area of life, diving into something and going hard at it, it's just going to be a downhill, effect of your life to where everything grows.
Mhm.
And so it's just the start of something great. And you just, as long as you dive into something, I think it complements your whole life. And then the consequences will also come down the road. And it's just good all the way around.
I think something that is probably the most important when it comes to health that needs to have constant attention for the rest of your life is cardiovascular health. I think no matter what you choose to do, whatever it is, cardiovascular health should be an important subject on your mind when it comes to your health. It's like, where does my cardiovascular health lie and how can I improve it? Because not only will it help in working out, but cognitively. Like, this is something that you were talking to me about this last week. Is like cognitively, it has improved your ability to think. It has improved a lot of your other areas, a lot of your like mental performance because of running. And one thing with running is that the importance of cardiovascular health comes in cognitively is because it opens up all of your capillaries, opens everything up, gets things flowing properly. And it's like it's the difference of when you have a drain that is clogged and trying to like run water through it and the water's just filling up in the sink versus a drain that's completely cleaned out and that water flows freely and fluidly. It's just effortless. It's the same way with your thoughts. Is if that drain is clogged and you haven't pushed really hard, if you haven't pushed that gunk out, if you haven't really made your heart work at getting those arteries and those capillaries and everything pushing and moving around and breaking things up, it's like a pool of ideas that are waiting to come to you that just can't hit you. They're just sitting in that sink. They can't get to your brain. They can't come through because like you haven't opened things up. And when you actually like focus on running or walking and improving your cardiovascular health, everything else improves. Intellectually, your mind can work fluidly, effectively. And so not only do other areas of your life like kind of improve, they significantly improve. And that's something I've noticed in myself is like my mental health, my happiness, like my ability to reason, my ability to even budget, to understand numbers, finances, and like be able to cognitively like hold all of these things in a balance and understand where things should go instead of having a constant brain fog and being like, I don't know, this doesn't really make sense. I don't really understand. I don't know how that's going to improve versus that free flow of like blood and supply that is constantly able to move through me. And I think it's something that should always be on our mind is like, where's my cardiovascular health? Is it adequate? Can I improve it? And especially this last week when we were talking, I thought that was really cool. You were like, dude, it's helping a lot with all the other areas of your life and fitness. So I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Well, it's interesting because it kind of goes along. Some recent studies have come out about cognitive health, and one's interesting thing is for years, probably 2 or 3 years, I had apps on my phone, like I would say 2, 3, maybe even 4 apps of like cognitive training apps where they do simple math, simple problem solving, all these little mental exercises. Because I decided I wanted to be good. I wanted to be on the game. Memory was something I've struggled with, and so I had memory exercises that I would do, and daily, every day, I would have a routine to do those. Like in between my sets on my workout, I'm always doing those cognitive exercises for years. But recently, studies came out, and they said those little exercise games, they do nothing for you cognitively. What does do things for you is exercise. That actually has significant results in terms of your cognitive health. And so I was just like, wow, I've been wasting years. I mean, it wasn't wasting. I mean, it wasn't. I was just like I like to multitask. I like to do it in between sets and such. But I thought that was kind of funny because you would think your brain is almost like a storage, and what is the system in your body that is always working all the time? It's your heart and your lungs without you thinking about it. That's the system that doesn't need your thought. It goes on its own. It's your heart and your lungs are always working all the time. and that's your cardiovascular. And so when I messaged you the other day, it was really interesting because I decided like I want to start running. And I decided to start running because I am cutting. When I was bulking, I'm like, I don't want to run when I'm bulking. Why would I burn more calories when I'm bulking? But in my experience of running, it's interesting because I have a character I want to be. I have a person I want to be in my head. I want to be. There's many different attributes, in terms of intellectual, social, all those different attributes. And I am trying to be that person. I am tackling to be that person. But while I was running, I noticed I was that person. Like when I was running, all the thoughts that came to me, all the attitude was probably the number one thing. Just the attitude of wanting to be better and just positivity, and it's like I am this person. So it was just kind of an interesting experience to me. It's like while I was running, I was the person I wanted to be in my head, and I would say my brain was functioning better than it ever has been. And I've noticed that while I've been running, and it's just been really good to see is just how cardio has helped me. And just like I was talking earlier about, bettering yourself in one area is you don't neglect the other areas. They all complement each other. And that's one thing I've learned in terms of cardio is I'm going to continue to do cardio throughout all of my health phases, cut, bulk, recomp, whatever it is. It's important. It is extremely important because, like I said, your cardiovascular is running all the time. In terms of exercise, you're using your cardiovascular to get those workouts going longer, harder, all of that. Your cardiovascular is a big part of that. And so these are muscles you need to work, and you should be working frequently. And if you aren't, it's going to hurt you in the long run, and you're likely to have lung and heart issues. And the lung and heart help the brain and help the body. And so those are like your core system right there. And so it should be your number one priority in terms of your health.
Yeah, that's something that I had to learn a number of years ago in maximizing my bulk and my cut. Like obviously in a cut, it's common knowledge, oh, you got to be doing more cardio. But a lot of people don't understand that you can get dramatically better like you can get dramatically better results in your bulk if you implement cardio. And it's surprising. It's very surprising to a lot of, they're like, no, I don't want to lose muscle mass. And I've always been like, dude, you don't understand. Like it is a game changer on a bulk. It's crazy because your body it'll utilize those nutrients a lot more effectively. And so, yes, you start eating in a bulk, the goal is to get into a surplus caloric intake. And a lot of those proteins, fats, and carbs, if you don't have good cardiovascular health, is just going to waste those away. It's going to try to push those out of the system instead of use them. Because your heart and your lungs and all of these systems that need a free flow of blood aren't going to be able to pump as well. And so it's just going to pump crap out because it's like, I don't want to use this. I can't right now. I don't have the efficiency right now. I am not efficient enough to utilize all these things. So yes, you may be in a bulk and you may be seeing some results, but you can exacerbate and violently improve those results by implementing cardio, even 10 minutes of cardio. It's insane how much it changes the bulk. And you'll go from like a puffy, fatty bulk to like a shredded, striated, like healthy bulk where you're still gaining weight, gaining muscle size, getting those just insane pumps, those really good pumps, putting on those pounds like week by week, and you'd be surprised. And it's changed my mentality in fitness because I always tell people I'm always in season. I'm always like stage ready. I'm always on season. I'm always ready. And I always keep my six pack, whether I'm bulking or cutting. And I can move my way up to 225 pounds effectively and move down to 199 pounds effectively and still keep a six pack. And I can move back and forth, keeping like a shredded body because I always do cardio. People are like, no, that's not good. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, man, keep that oil change moving in your body, keep that blood pumping, and you'd be surprised. It's crazy. The workouts are longer, so afterwards you're like, I need food. Like, I need food. And your body can utilize that food instead of like pumping a caloric surplus in, but then you're like, I'm full, and you still have another 60 grams of protein you need to pound. You're like, I can't do it. Like, it's so hard. And you put it in, your body just shits it out versus like doing the running, doing the longer workout, and you get all those calories in and the extra 60 grams of protein, you're like, I'm ready for that. I can destroy that real quick. And you're like, you know what? I could go for another 30 grams. I could go for some extra carbs real quick. Like, I'm still hungry. Shit. And your body can use it. And it's a game changer, man. And I honestly think it's one of my secret weapons to my physique is the fact that I continually utilize cardio in bulk or cut. And it's a secret weapon, man. It's truly a secret weapon, and it's an underestimated secret weapon.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of aspects of fitness that should be applied, especially in terms of we're talking about old age and such. One study that I found pretty interesting was just the effects of weight training. Basically, they compared a lot of different training types in terms of longevity, living longer, and you would think that doing some stretching, some other things like I don't know, endurance maybe might be good for old age, when really strength training was like one of the ones that showed most promising, like lifting heavy weights, like as you're older. And so that study was extremely surprising because they're like, what? And then I started seeing people talk about it and videos about it, and they're like, well, this is actually legit. And now I'm starting to see it as a personal trainer, and I'm getting clients a little bit older, and they'll comment because they still talk about how their trainer before, a trainer they experienced before, was putting them through some stretching, some light workouts, some yoga maybe. And don't get me wrong, that's all good. But they say nothing has ever felt better than when they come train with me and I put them through some weights. Like, I'm gonna strength train them, I'm gonna hypertrophy train them, and endurance train them. And so in terms of longevity, you got to realize like all these different things help. And honestly, thinking about it, in terms of nutrition, the best thing you could do for your nutrition is a well-balanced whole food diet. Like, get as many foods, they talk about colors, get colors, as many colors as you can, as many different food groups as you can, and that's going to give you really health. You're going to get all your micronutrients if you do all these different food groups and everything. And I think it's the same thing in terms of exercise. Do your cardio, do your strength training, do your endurance training, dabble in every single area so you get all the benefits of every single one of those. And I think that will optimize your health. And in terms of longevity, I believe that's probably the best route you could take. And that's one route I've been taking personally and with clients I train, is dabbling in all the little different areas. But one thing while you're talking about that I thought about was the whole concept of if you don't use it, you lose it. And I was thinking about it in terms of exercise. For example, when I'm currently cutting, the goal is I want to lose weight and retain muscle. And so what's my goal here is I have to use the muscle in a way that my body says, I need this because he uses this. And so what is it going to take? It's going to take away what I'm not using, which is the body fat, which is my goal. And so it's the same thing in life. If you don't use certain areas and exercise certain areas in regards to your cognitive health, physical health, any area, your life will take it from you. It's the same thing like your body. Life and your body, they're well-built constructs, right? And if you don't use them, they are designed to take it away from you. If I just cut my calories and I wasn't working out, my body's going to take away my muscle. They're like, well, he ain't using this. I'm going to use this for energy instead. So we have to choose what areas we want to excel in, exercise those areas, and then the bad habits, the things we don't want in life, our life will take those away. That's what it's designed to do. And so I thought it was kind of cool comparing those areas, because it's the same concept, the same idea is you if you excel in certain areas, the areas you don't like and you don't want in your body, the bad habits, it's just like the fat in your body on a cut. It'll just disintegrate away right away, and you'll have an optimal physique.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's one of the most important things. Is if you don't use it, you lose it, and it's true. If you're using your muscles, if you're utilizing your strength, your body will, for energy, it's going to use the thing you're not using, which is going to be your fat. It's going to be like, hey, we need this. He's working his muscles right now, so we're gonna steal a bit of you, maybe a lot of you, to supply energy to what we're doing over here. So see you later. And it does the same thing with your life and your cognitive health and your cardiovascular health in general. That's something that, like, is to keep in mind, is if you're not using your cardiovascular health, you will lose it. Like, if you're not using your heart properly, expect to lose it. And that's a real thing. Is like, that's why I believe old age isn't real. I believe it's real in the context of, like, expiring and dying, is like these people are just not using it. They're not using their heart in a healthy way. They're not giving it the nutrients it needs to thrive, and they're not pumping it, pushing it through intensity. They're not keeping it, keeping that plasticity. And so they lose it. They lose their heart's ability to pump. They lose their lungs' ability to supply the necessary oxygen and the necessary movements. And slowly but surely, life takes it from them. And that's very real. That's why I don't subscribe to the idea that I'm ever going to get old. I think that if I keep pushing myself, if I keep running, if I keep moving, just like nature, just like the rest of nature, if I keep moving with nature, keep growing, keep giving myself a whole diet, a healthy diet, giving myself the nutrients, and challenging myself intellectually and physically and creatively, I'll never die, because nature will need me. It will continuously need to use me as I use myself in these areas. And as long as I'm using those areas and utilizing those areas, I'm going to keep using them for as long as I use them. And when I stop, life will start to take them away. And so that's one thing that I think about, is like, you don't die, you don't get old. The only way that you actually get old is when you stop using those things, when you stop using your creativity, when you stop using your mind, and when you stop using your heart. And that's just what I've witnessed in elderly people who are not pushing themselves. Is their life begins to take them, and rightfully so. They're not using it, and if you don't use it, you lose it. And I think that's just how life works. It's beautifully put that way. It's designed that way for a reason, and it's okay. I don't ever think that death is a bad thing in any way, and I know that's probably an unheard of way, but I think that death is useful, because we return to nutrients. We return to the earth to be used as nutrients for the plants that we grow, for the animals that eat those plants and those animals we eat. And whoever is willing to run with nature will continue to live, and nature will utilize them. But if you don't run with nature, if you fight it, you don't use the things that it gives you, expect to lose them. Your hands, your heart, your mind, expect to lose it if you don't use it.
Yeah. One thing that I think I thought of while you're talking is our belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
And one example that I was thinking of was the idea of not believing in depression, or the idea of not believing in God. Like, I thought about these things. In terms of God, I've thought a lot about this, and it kind of baffles me I guess if you're a realist and you want facts, and I get it, but what does it hurt to believe in God, and good, that there's consequences if you do bad and rewards if you do good? And it's just kind of the concept of choosing what you believe in to benefit yourself. And so in terms of depression, like, if you choose not to believe in depression, it will benefit you, because you're like, oh, that suffering doesn't exist. I choose to be happy, right? And I think it's the same thing in terms of your health. you know? If you choose not to die, if you choose that you're going to live forever, won't that bring to pass the actions that will lead to longevity and longer lifespans? And so I think it's the whole concept of choosing your belief system. Like, what do I believe in? What do I want to stand for? You know, I don't believe in anger. I don't believe in sadness. Maybe, you know, maybe these are a little far-fetched, but it's just the concept. Like, I believe in happiness. I believe in positivity. I believe every action I will take in life will bring a good consequence if I choose a good action and put some effort into that. And so I think that's a big, important thing in terms of everything in life, is choosing what you believe in and placing the actions in that area. And yeah, just like in terms of death, like if you believe in death and you believe that you're going to die and it's coming, and you think about this and you ponder about this, I think the law of attraction will bring you right in that direction. But you say, I believe that I will live forever, and my actions will bring that to pass. It's like, then you're going to take those actions that will, you may not live forever, I don't know, but you will live longer than the person that's thinking about death. So
Dude, that's a really good point that you brought up. That's actually like key, and it's very true. And I know that the law of attraction is very iffy for a lot of people, but understanding the basis of it, the law of attraction isn't entirely like, oh, if you think it, it's just going to come to pass. Your thoughts, they create your reality in the sense that they cultivate your actions. And if you are thinking that depression, exists and that you have it, you will participate in actions that cultivate that reality. And you may not think you do, but subconsciously you do. And let me put it this way. A lot of people who subscribe to the idea of depression is a lot of the actions they take, drinking, smoking, wasting time, creates that depression, idleness, right? Whereas like you look at, somebody who doesn't want to believe in depression, what would be the opposite of depression? Probably be thriving or joy, right? And if you don't believe in something, that must mean you believe in the opposite of that thing, right? So if I don't believe in depression, then I've got to believe in joy. I've got to believe in thriving and happiness. And so my mind doesn't ponder depression, it ponders on joy. And just the word joy. If we were just to think about the word joy, if we were to think, okay, what cultivates joy? I don't believe in depression, so it's not going to occupy my mind. It's not going to occupy the space. But if I believe in joy, I'm going to be thinking about joy and the actions that create joy. So if I'm thinking about joy, what creates joy? Oh, I want to feel joy. I want to feel joy. Oh, like I like joy. Like, what are some attributes of joy? Well, gratitude's kind of an attribute of joy. So you're going to find yourself like, well, what am I grateful for? Like if I believe in joy and I believe in gratitude, like, well, what's gratitude? Okay, well, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that person. No, I'm grateful for my hands. Oh, I'm grateful for my legs and that I can use them. What kind of actions come from those thoughts? It's like, oh, I'm grateful for my ability to smell. What smells do I like? Well, my favorite smell in the world is the plumeria flower. And like my apartment complex is surrounded by these flowers. And I literally, every single morning of every day during the week, when I'm walking to my car, the first thing I do, and I know it probably sounds weird as hell, but I go and I smell a plumeria. It's one of my favorite things in the world because it is a delicious smell. I think it's an amazing smell. And I go and smell the plumeria, and it makes me really happy, brings me joy. It's like, oh wow, smells so good. Okay, that's an action that creates joy. And then another thing is like, oh, I like making a positive impact. I like making people smile. That brings people joy. Or there's a greeter at Walmart. His name's Chris. I'm going to go there later, and if I see him, like I want to make sure that I say his name and say it's good to see you, because I like seeing him smile. That brings me joy. So I go to Walmart, get the things I need, and I see him like, oh, hey Chris, like good to see you, man. And I see his smile, and I feel joy. And I'm talking about all of these things, and these are all actions that cultivate joy. What am I not pondering on? What's not in my reality? Depression. And it's because I'm not taking actions. I'm not thinking about things that cultivate depression. It's people who are depressed. They're like, oh, they say like, oh, I drink because I'm depressed. something that I don't participate in is I don't drink. If I was depressed, I'd probably drink. People are like, oh, I drink because I'm depressed. I'm trying to avoid depression. And we all know that drinking perpetuates depression. It's like, oh, if you are depressed, if you believe you are depressed, you're going to participate in actions that perpetuate that existence, that part of your existence. It's like, if I believe I'm going to live forever, I'm going to ponder on things that are going to extend my lifespan. Oh, what makes me healthy? I want to live forever. Like, I'd probably run. I'd probably use my legs because cardiovascular, I need a healthy heart. So I ponder on those things. I should go running. I should probably go running. I should probably go running. I should probably go running. What do I end up doing? I end up running. And that's the law of attraction, is your thoughts cultivate your actions, which predetermine your reality. And so it's not just like you think it and it happens. There is a process, but that process just becomes laid before you because of your thoughts. The plan just gets laid out because of the way your brain is thinking about these things. And so that's something that I love about that, is I do believe that you can live forever if you keep thinking about it. If you keep thinking about your health and like, how do I live forever? What would make me live to maybe even just 200? If I could live to 200, what would I be doing? What would I need to do to live to be 200? I think it's important. So
I think a big part of that is attitude. I know attitude's like a big magic word, but positivity. I think a lot of people, they'll have if you have these negative ideas, negative thoughts, negative attitudes, attributes, whatever it is, if it's a negative connotation, it will bring to pass negative things. I mean, we just talked about the law of attraction. And so I think you got to evaluate what's on your mind a lot of the times. Is it a positive thing or is it a negative thing? Because if it is a negative thing, negative things are going to bring more negative things. Positive things are going to bring more positive things. And so I think you got to look at it, just like we were talking about last week, kind of we were talking about this week, is in terms of consequences, they are some of the little things that we do, and they will bring to pass consequences. And so if you choose to have these positive things, it will bring to pass a bigger positive thing. But if we choose these little negative things, they will bring to pass a bigger negative thing. And so you got to fill your life with what you want. And so we all understand, I mean, it's like the stock market, that's the trend lines, like they go like this. And so it's okay to have, let's say in terms of nutrition, a cheat meal, it's okay to have a burger every once in a while. It's okay to have some negative, so to say, things, because trend lines are fine. No one's perfect. We're not going to go in a straight line up all the time. But I think it's important to evaluate your life and think, am I thinking about death a lot? Am I thinking about these negative things? Am I thinking about fast food all the time? Or am I thinking about healthy food? Am I thinking about having a good body? Am I thinking about my longevity and my health? Thinking about all these positive things will bring to pass positive things. And so I think in terms of attitude and mental mindset, it's really vital to establish grounds of positivity.
you said something that was really powerful. And it's looking at your life as if it was a stock, essentially. And are you moving in a trend that you would bet on? Are you moving in a trend line that you would bet on? Is it an upward trend or is it a downward trend? Because there's upward trends, there's downward trends, there's sideways trends. And are you moving in a trend that you would bet on, that you would put money, that you would buy into? And I think that's something very important to think about. Is like, are you moving on an upward trend? You can have down, sad days. You can have rest days. You can have good, great days where you're running the 4 miles and going to the gym or whatever. And then your next day, you're eating your meat, your protein, whatever. Are you maintaining a trend that you would bet on, that you would put money on? That you're like, I'm going to bet on that. I bet on this to succeed because I know the trend that I'm on. And I think that's something important to think about. especially when it comes to like investing. Are you investing in yourself? Then that's a huge thing. Is like you taking your health into accountability is you investing in yourself. Like this is a trend I'm betting on. It's gonna win. My health is gonna win. Like my finances are gonna win. My intellectual side of like my intellectual health is gonna win, and I'm betting on it. And I'm betting on it by making the actions, participating in the actions that are going to result in an upward trend. It's the reading the book, you know. And I think that's really important to think about. Is like, are you a stock that you would bet on? And
Well, you're all in,
yeah,
and
you
so
are.
it better be a good one.
Yeah, you are, dude. Oh God. You are. That's the most important thing. You're all in anyways. You're all in anyways. So why not make some bang for your buck, dude? Why not see how good you can get it? You could be a $20 stock, or you could be a 600,000 stock. It's entirely $600,000 stock. It's entirely up to you. Like you're all in anyway. Why not add some fucking value to it?
Yep.
Damn, that's so good. All right, let's get into goals.
That's great.
All right.
Ugh. My goal was to read and get back in the routine of reading. I have not touched a book.
Okay.
But in terms of my defense, I am getting good input.
Okay.
I go and listen to such while I run. I like to listen to audios. Earl Nightingale has been one of my favorites, and I listen to him every time I've run, and I run for half an hour a day. And I've been choosing intellectual videos to watch while I do my cardio. And so I wouldn't say my intellect is, hurting at all in any way. And I hate to limit it to sitting down and reading a book because we have much more ways of input to that. And so I would say I've done pretty good this week. But I definitely want to expand my horizons and allow more opportunities for such. I mean, I love running and listening to a good audio. I mean, I don't need to get a crazy mindset. I don't need to have crazy music pumping when I'm running. That's my workout. Like I can do crazy, awesome music when I'm working out. But when I'm running, I'm just running chill. I'm just doing it to get some cardio in. I'm not going crazy. I could listen to a good audio and get a good audio in there. Same thing with my cardio. Is like I'm sitting there, I could get. And so, yeah, I plan on expanding with that and dabbling with that this week. That'll be my transferred goal, is to probably listen to some or experiment with some Audible stuff and books that way, and open my horizons to several different paths of intellect and not just one Earl Nightingale, because that's all I've been doing, but expanding and getting more ways of input. I think, yeah, don't limit yourself to one way of input. Like experiment. As long as you're getting good input, that's what matters. So whether that's through an audio in your head or reading a book, I think it doesn't really matter, because luckily we have technology on our side and we have several ways of getting an input. And I love multitasking and getting in a cardio while I'm getting an input. I think that's the perfect time to do that. So that's gonna be my goals.
Something to think about is you're actually consuming books. So Earl Nightingale, all of his stuff is put into essays and books. His essays and books. So you are consuming books. It's just not the traditional sense of consuming the books. And if you are understanding the concepts and like able to like compose them into actionable steps in your life, you are doing more than consuming those books. You're putting them into action. And so I would say that you are technically reading. You are consuming books. You are consuming the knowledge in those books, one way or another. So even though you're not physically reading a book, you're still consuming it. You're still consuming that knowledge in one form or another. It's the difference of like, watching a useless film that's just for purely entertainment versus consuming an educational video that's going to tell you how to build a business. You've consumed a book. So that's good. Which Earl Nightingale have you been listening to? Which one?
A lot of them.
Really?
I mean, I found it's on Spotify. I found there's this playlist or whatever with just tons of his discourses, if not all of them. And I've been listening to that for the past 3 weeks every day, or probably over a month of every day I run, I'll just listen to that, and it'll just go down. When one ends, the other will start, and so I just listen to all of his, and I've been loving them.
He's brilliant. He is brilliant. He's very smart. Consuming his information is like, that's some high quality shit right there. Like, that is high quality information, and he's an amazing orator. He's so well spoken. It's insane. So, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I think my goal was to build momentum, because I think the week prior I had only finished 2 or 3 books, I can't remember, and I was beating myself up over that, which was fucking stupid. Like, whatever, man. Like, really? This week, let's see how much I consumed. I write them all down. I did really well this week. So the 24th. So I did 4 books this week. So I did maintain and build momentum. I won't list all of the books that I read. Actually, I can list 3 of the books I read. So Your Faith is Your Fortune by Neville Goddard, which Earl Nightingale and Bob Proctor and Neville Goddard were all pretty close. They all worked together pretty closely. I like all of their stuff. Bob Proctor's book, Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life, I read this week. That one was amazing. That one was so good. For anybody out there wanting a really freaking good book, that one's on Audible. Really freaking good. And then I reread Outwitting the Devil. I had to, man. That was so good. So I consumed that one again. But the 4th book I will not be listing. We've already talked about that. But yeah, so for this week, goal is just maintain momentum. Just keep going. I do have good news on my goal. I'm where I'm supposed to be. So I'm halfway through the year, and we're on week 26 of the year. We're moving into week 27, and I have consumed 26 books. So I'm very, very proud of that one. I'm like, nice. I'm there. I'm finally where I want to be with that. So just keep moving forward. Just keep the momentum. Even if I were to hit only 1 book a week, I'd be good. I'd get my 50 books in the year. But let's pray and hope I can cross that threshold and do some more. So just maintain momentum. just keep going. Don't stop. I'm not going to be the hare and be like, I can relax now. You know, I don't want to adopt that. I just want to keep moving with whatever momentum I've got. So just keep the momentum. That's my goal. Keep momentum.
Sweet.
All right. That, I believe, concludes episode 32 of 2 Minutes to Life. We will see you guys next week.